Welcome to the BTS Presents show.
Hello, I am Stam from Royal Taj. Have a mango lassi with your lunch buffet.
I'm Kathy Runyon. I'm here with the BTS Presents show. Tonight I'm interviewing Matt Guerreri about the Homeless Garden Project. Matt was on the board for 7 years. He was on that board. I recently had the good fortune to go to one of their dinners. This was a fundraising dinner out at the garden, out Natural Bridges Garden.
Natural Bridges Farm, that's correct.
That's right, and this was a dinner that was honoring Alice Waters.
From Chez Panisse.
It was absolutely a fantastic meal. There was a great salad, the main course was terrific, and there were tons and tons of people there. It was a fabulous event.
It was a wonderful event, and Alice Waters was very gracious. Alice Waters from Chez Panisse in Berkeley, who is one of the leaders of the new agriculture movement. And it would have been an embarrassment not to have a wonderful meal, and we had 4 local chefs produce a wonderful meal out of much of the produce that we actually grow at Natural Bridges Farm. We had almost 200 people, and a wonderful tribute from Alice, who has been a great supporter of the garden, and a friend of the founder of the garden, Dr. Paul Lee.
Who were the chefs?
We had the head chef from Soif,
Okay.
the chef from La Posta. Both of those restaurants are owned by Patrice Boyle, who is a great supporter of the Homeless Garden Project. The chef from Gabrielle.
And Patrice Boyle was on the board for the Homeless Garden?
Patrice has been a supporter of the Homeless Garden Project since its beginnings, really. The Homeless Garden Project began in 1989, so it's been 22, almost 23 years now since the project's been going. And it was founded primarily as a transitional job program to provide employment for homeless, formerly homeless, or folks who are in jeopardy of being homeless. And very quickly it became one of the prominent organic farms in the area. The Homeless Garden Project started the first community-supported agriculture program, organic CSA program on the Central Coast, and that's been run continuously now for almost 20 years.
Wow.
So we grow a lot of food, a lot of healthy food for people who buy shares in the harvest, and we also contribute organic food to people in the community who ordinarily wouldn't be able to afford wholesome organic food, to, among others, Second Harvest, the Santa Cruz AIDS Project, and other nonprofits in town. We grow a wide assortment of row crops, so all of the lettuces and cabbages and root crops. And we also have wonderful strawberries. I would say maybe the best strawberries on the Central Coast. And kids love to go out into the strawberry patch and pick strawberries with their parents. The name of our farm is Natural Bridges Farm, and it's a very apt name because we, in fact, really endeavor to build bridges between members of the community that ordinarily wouldn't connect. This land is provided by the Swenson family. This is Ron Swenson, the brother of Barry Swenson, and many people in this community know of Barry Swenson Builders. But this is private land that's owned by 2 families, the Swenson family and another family. And it's been donated to the Homeless Garden Project. A portion of this parcel has been donated to the Homeless Garden Project for the past 16 years at Natural Bridges. We also had a small farm on Pelton Avenue.
I remember that.
Yeah, which was taken back by the city. That was city property that they reappropriated in order to develop.
Right.
And then we moved our entire farming operation to Natural Bridges Farm, which is on the extreme western edge of Santa Cruz, at the very end of Delaware Avenue, and it abuts the UCSC Long Marine Lab property.
The garden is very beautiful.
It's a wonderful place. The best way to actually get a feel for the garden, the farm, is to come out and volunteer. It's a wonderful experience. It's a healthy experience, and you get a free meal. We actually provide lunch for all of the volunteers that come out. We have standard drop-in volunteer days on Thursday and Friday between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. People can come out and work in the garden, actually dig in the soil, which is one of the wonderful experiences that people sometimes don't appreciate about being in a garden. There is clearly therapeutic value of digging in the soil and having a community of people with whom to do that. So coming out and volunteering, spending 4 hours, having an organic meal cooked fresh right there on the farm, it's a wonderful experience. And like many people, I had no idea really about organic gardening or where my food came from. And especially the last several years since I've been retired and have had the opportunity to work in the garden, I've learned a tremendous amount and realize how little I know. It's a lot more complicated than people might understand. So there's a great deal of science to understand about organic gardening, and it's a wonderful learning experience. You never really capture it all.
If I want to come out and volunteer, do I need to know anything about gardening?
Nothing at all. If you have a pair of garden gloves, that'd be good to bring, but otherwise we'll provide everything that you need, including garden gloves and tools, and we can put you to work on something that suits what you're capable of doing physically and otherwise.
We're going to take a little break here, and we will be right back.
Great.
We have with us in the studio today the doctor's wife, Peggy Pollard.
Oatmeal, instant oatmeal, it's great, tastes good. Lentils, healthy things like almonds as a snack, lots of fruit. I would much rather get my vitamins in real fruit than in a vitamin pill. So those are good things to eat when you have a cold. Recently there's been some studies, all kinds of studies actually, that they're trying to find other ingredients that help you fight colds. A lot of them I do not believe, because you have to look at who is funding those studies. So one recent study was that an ingredient in beer is supposed to help you fight your cold, the hops in the beer. Who funded that study? The beer company. Another one that I really did like was chocolate. I don't know if this is helping me get better from my cold, but it makes me feel good while I have a cold, if I don't eat too much of it. So I would not trust all those special ingredients, the claims that people say will help you, but do stick with these good, healthy foods that will really boost your immune system and help you get better faster. I'm Peggy, the doctor's wife. Check my website for more tips on how to get better from the common cold.
So Matt, before we took our little break, you were going to put me to work.
Absolutely.
Out of the garden.
So once again, volunteering at the Homeless Garden Project is really a wonderful experience. The reason I do it is because I get a lot more out of it than I put into it. And especially over the last several years, I've had the opportunity to actually spend time at Natural Bridges Farm, working on the farm, in the garden, growing food, growing organic flowers, and it's a wonderful experience. You get to meet lots of other interesting people, some of whom are homeless, some of whom are formerly homeless, many other volunteers, lots of kids from UCSC, interns and so on. So it's a wonderful place to spend a day. It's outdoors, it's healthy, and we give you a good meal.
You've mentioned the name Paul Lee many, many times over the years, and I believe he's connected.
Well, he's more than just connected. Paul Lee is the founder of the Homeless Garden Project, and it was started initially as a place to employ homeless folks. Paul Lee founded the first homeless shelter in Santa Cruz, and someone donated $100,000 worth of plants. And Paul decided, well, maybe we should start a garden. He was affiliated with Alan Chadwick, who was the founder of UCSC's Farm and Garden program and was a renowned gardener in the 60s and 70s. And the principles that are employed at the Homeless Garden Project at Natural Bridges Farm are the very same agricultural principles that were employed by Alan Chadwick and are used at the Farm and Garden program with the university.
How did you get involved? How did you personally get involved with this project?
It goes back 17 years. Paul Lee, who is, among other things, a doctor of divinity, married my wife and myself. And on our 10th wedding anniversary, we decided to renew our wedding vows. And we asked Paul if he'd be pleased to officiate, or if he would concede to officiate, and he was pleased to do that. And after, at a dinner, he asked me to consider coming on the board of directors of the nonprofit that he had, which was called the Citizens Committee of the Homeless, and the Homeless Garden Project was one of the programs under that 501c3. And I declined. I said at the time that I knew nothing about homelessness and I knew nothing about gardening and I wasn't interested. And he persisted and he suggested that I go down and volunteer at the Homeless Garden Project to see if it was something that I would be interested in getting involved with. And I did. And for me, it was really a life-changing experience. It was a pivotal moment for me. I was phobic about homeless folks. I didn't want to have anything to do with homeless people. And out of that experience, I was able to overcome what had been a long-held phobia, really. I had been trained as a young child to look away from people who were less fortunate than us. And I learned at that point that it was counterproductive for me to be doing that. And it was by working next to homeless folks, particularly at the garden, where you can develop an attachment to the soil very easily. And when you're working with someone in that kind of a setting, it's very easy for the barriers to fall away. You're both just there digging in the dirt. It is a training program. We are a transitional job employment and training program for homeless, formerly homeless, and folks who are in jeopardy of perhaps being homeless. We provide a very nurturing environment. It is supportive. We do have social work interns who work with the program to help folks who are trying to access services that they otherwise might not be able to. But clearly the soil, working with the soil and developing an attachment to the soil and to the plants has turned out to be very helpful, and it's become a model across the country and even beyond this country for working with people who have certain disabilities. Nurturing plants is a process that heals. So the very basic skills of showing up on time, being able to work in a cooperative fashion with others are the kinds of skills that are transferable no matter what they go on to. Some actually do find jobs in agriculture, and here in Santa Cruz County, the new agriculture, organic farming, community-supported agriculture, and so on, is becoming a bigger and bigger industry. So the Homeless Garden Project actually exists at the nexus of two very important things: the new agriculture and organic farming, and dealing with the issues of homelessness. And it does it in the supportive environment of a natural organic farm.
Well, the two things that you just talked about that come about as a result of volunteering or working out there or showing up on time and learning how to cooperatively work with others, it seems to me that everybody ought to have to go out there and volunteer so that they would learn how to show up on time and be able to work cooperatively with other people.
I think the best thing I could say is that it's a rewarding experience. It's a fun experience. It's an outdoor, healthy experience. There's a lot of laughter. So it's always interesting to me to see people who come from very different places in the community demographically work together and be able to laugh together and to share a meal together. It's really a very rewarding experience.
So how many people volunteer? What kind of numbers are we talking about here?
One of the things that the Homeless Garden Project is very proud of is the volunteer effort that year in and year out we receive from the community. In 2012, this last year, we had over 1,500 individuals volunteer at the farm. In many cases, this is a one-time experience for a class of 30 or 40 kids. But in terms of total volunteer hours, we had some number in excess of 7,000 hours contributed. So we have a wonderful group of volunteers. We have a holiday store, which we've just completed. Every December, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, we have a holiday store where many of the products are made by our trainees. This past year was our most successful year. So without our volunteers, there's no way that the Homeless Garden Project could survive. And that's a big part of what we do, try to bring people from the community into the garden, and we've been very successful at that.
I want to hear more about these volunteers, and I want to hear more about the store right after we take a short break. We'll be right back.
You've been watching the BTS Presents show.
The mission statement of Santa Cruz Community Television is to foster community dialogue and individual self-expression through television, the internet, and other electronic media.
There are a lot of nonprofits in Santa Cruz. We're a lucky community. As a matter of fact, BTS Presents had a show with Habitat for Humanity where we talked to the director, David Foster, and one of the board members, Terry Rain, about Habitat for Humanity, which is a great organization, which also requires a lot of volunteers. Now, we were talking about volunteers for the Natural Bridges Garden.
Bridges Farm.
What do the volunteers do?
It depends upon what they're capable of doing. We try to match jobs to the physical ability of the people that come out to volunteer, the interest of the people that come out to volunteer. We have a kitchen where we prepare a meal, a lunch for everyone who comes to the farm, both our trainees and the volunteers and the staff. So there are opportunities to help in the kitchen, if that's what you like. There are opportunities to dig beds, which can be physically pretty demanding, I can tell you that. There are harvest opportunities. So there are a multitude of jobs on a farm that need to be done, and we attempt to match the jobs to the volunteers. We have a wonderful volunteer coordinator, Kelly Mercer, who is very accommodating and very helpful. And if people are interested in volunteering, they can either call the garden and ask for Kelly Mercer, or they can simply drop in on Thursdays or Fridays during the harvest season.
I could be a scarecrow.
There you go. And maybe we can get you to trap some gophers.
Oh, the gopher expert here, the gopher expert, having had a lot of experience with gophers. What would you have me do if I decided to volunteer, Matt?
What would I have you do?
What would you have me do?
Well, I know what great physical shape you're in, so we'd probably put you to work double digging a bed.
That's what I was afraid of.
Or making compost. One of the most important...
Making compost?
Making compost. Organic farmers will tell you that what they do is make soil. They build soil. And in fact, it is really the starting point for an organic farm. So we make our own compost. There are no chemical fertilizers, no pesticides, no chemicals of any kind on the farm. So we make all of our soil right there, and all of the fertility issues are something that we deal with organically and right there on the farm.
Do I have to play with worms?
Well, sure you have to play with worms. Worms are wonderful. Where would we be without earthworms? Good compost, by the way, does not have an odor that you wouldn't appreciate. It actually smells pretty good.
Kind of like mowed grass or something?
It smells like good soil.
Like good soil, like good soil. Let's get back to the store. I know more about stores than I know about compost. You were talking about the Christmas store that just happened recently, and the products are all provided by the garden.
Yeah, the Homeless Garden Project provides farm jobs at Natural Bridges Farm, and we also have craft work that's done by our trainees, mostly in the wintertime when there isn't work out on the farm, as much work out on the farm. We actually farm 12 months of the year, but there isn't as much work during the winter. And so initially, to provide jobs for our trainees, we began craft work in our workshop. Much of the crafts that we make are dried flower products that are grown organically at the farm, then dried, and then turned into dried flower wreaths and other kinds of products. We also grow herbs and have savory products, food products. So there are now an array of products that we make by hand in our craft shop and sell year-round, either at our small retail space, which is at Depot Park.
Depot Park.
Depot Park,
All right.
near the new roundabout.
Right.
And then during the holiday season between Thanksgiving and Christmas, we're fortunate to have generous merchants and owners downtown who volunteer, who donate spaces for us. And for the past 3 years, we've been fortunate to have great retail space at the Cooper House in Santa Cruz. So in 2012, we had our very best store. And that's fully staffed by volunteers, where we sell our products and other products that are donated, that are all handcrafted products.
So the people that wind up being served by the garden, how many people do you think you help a year? What's involved there? How does somebody get to be a part of the group? There's an application process. What goes on there?
There is an intake process and an application process. We have only a limited number of slots in a year. It's a 2-year program, a commitment for 2 years. It's 20 hours a week, and we have currently 15 slots, and we are looking to expand the program. We do have plans to expand the number of acres that we farm and expand the number of trainee positions that we have. And over time, we expect to be able to build that to perhaps 45 or 50 positions.
Wow. And these would be trainee positions?
These are trainee positions, that's correct.
And how many people are actually employed? I know you have people over there that are permanently employed. What's that look like?
There's a limited and low-paid staff that is really very dedicated to the work. They're not in it to make money, I can assure you. And we have a total of 6 paid staff members with the project, including the executive director and the volunteer coordinator.
And the executive director obviously runs the program, and the volunteer coordinator coordinates all those volunteers. What other paid positions
We have a
are
development director. We have a new young person who is responsible for the organic flower enterprise, which is our craft programs. We have a farm manager, and we have a training manager.
Great. Now, I understand that you're planning on maybe moving the location of the farm. Is that something that is in the works?
Adding to, I would say.
Adding to, okay, not changing, adding to.
For the last 10 years, the City Council of the City of Santa Cruz has approved a 12-acre parcel that the city owns on Pogonip, the Greenbelt. And we are in the final stages of actually getting all of the final approvals for that. And we're hoping that in 2013 we will actually sign a lease with the city and begin the process of migrating some of our farming operations to the Pogonip. And we're very hopeful that that's going to happen this year. And it may take several years before we're able to move most of our operation to the Pogonip. It'll start with soil fertility. So we'll need to get up there and begin to work the soil.
Compost.
That's right.
That's where I come in, right?
Once again, compost.
Right. So you will be developing that farm, and you said you'll be leasing that land from the city. Leasing that land?
I don't know what the legal agreement will be, but it will become a permanent home for the Homeless Garden Project. So it will require that we sign a lease with the city, but it will be dedicated to the Homeless Garden Project. And it in fact is on the site map now for the city's master plan. So we are already anticipated to be on that property starting hopefully this year.
Now, the trainees, is there any housing associated with the garden project?
Not currently.
Not currently.
No. And we're not sure, how that will play out in the future. Many of our trainees do take advantage of the temporary shelters that are provided by the Homeless Resource Center.
And those are which?
Well, there's the Paul Lee Loft.
The Paul Lee
Loft.
And where's
which
that?
is transitional housing. It's at the Homeless Services Center on Coral Street.
Okay.
There's also the Page Smith House, which is a transitional housing program for people trying to find permanent housing. And there's a lot more to be said about the issue of homelessness in Santa Cruz and providing permanent supportive housing for our chronically homeless population. That's not the focus of the Homeless Garden Project. Transitional job training is an important component of helping people get out of homelessness and stay out of homelessness. When I retired, I decided that I really wanted to get in and learn from the ground up, literally from the ground up, what made the program so successful. I had the privilege of watching people turn their lives around, but really didn't understand on a first-hand basis what it was that was so magic about this program until I went out and volunteered. And then I began to see some of the benefits.
And then you started trying to get me to go out there and volunteer.
Well, absolutely, because it'll be a joy for you. And again, I want to say that I get a lot more out of volunteering than I put in. And that's the reason that I do it. In 2012, Don Lane was the mayor of Santa Cruz, the city of Santa Cruz. And many of the people at the county level in Santa Cruz also recognized that there was a need to address the issues of homelessness in this community in a more comprehensive way.
So folks, I would like to thank Matt Guerreri for coming here tonight and sharing a lot of information with us about the Homeless Garden Project out at Natural Bridges.
The website for the Homeless Garden Project is www.homelessgardenproject.org. I don't have the telephone number off the top of my head, but you can get it at the website.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy.
If you enjoyed this program, you can support community television with a generous contribution. Send your tax-deductible donation to CTV, 816 Pacific Avenue, Santa Cruz, California, 95060. You can also support CTV by giving a donation online at www.communitytv.org. Then press the donate key.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Hello, I am Spram from Royal Taj. Have a mango lassi with your lunch buffet.
Past episodes of the BTS Presents show can be viewed online at
DailyMotion.com, search for BTS Presents, and Vimeo.com, search for Brian Schulman.
This video was made possible thanks to CTV, Community Television of Santa Cruz. You've been watching the BTS Presents show.
BTS Presents, signing off.